Welcome back to the Food on Demand podcast, where we dish up insights on the future of restaurants relating to off-premises operations and the overall digital dining experience. I'm Bernadette Heyer, managing editor. It will be just me today at the beginning of the episode, as associate editor Adam Wahlberg is out, but he will be back on the next episode to share his quick bites and what he's been covering in the industry. Today, we have a great conversation with Jenn Saunders-Haynes. She is the Director of Global Catering for Subway. I love this conversation with Jenn. So much valuable insight and impact on catering, marketing, and operations, and getting to know her better. But first, I do have just a few announcements. We are currently deep in the planning of our agenda for the Food on Demand conference that takes place May 5th through 7th at the Bellagio in Las Vegas. And I encourage anyone listening to attend the conference. It's 3 days with expert speakers covering everything from delivery and everything else that relates to off-premises, attracting and retaining the digital guests in today's omni-channel environment, loyalty, marketing, automation, robotics, tech stack strategies, and so much more. And it's a great event to learn everything you need to know to boost your delivery biz. Check it out on our website. You can see our past events for more information. And registration is open. So I hope to see you all there. I also encourage those who are interested to reach out to us with any speaker or topic ideas. We're still planning some of the panels, and we always want to feature new, innovative brands and expert speakers. So don't hesitate to drop us an idea. Also, keep an eye out soon for the announcement of our 20 outstanding operators. So that's year 2 of this program, where we recognize these innovative brands for what they're doing that's excelling in off-premises operations and so much more. And so these brands are invited to the Food on Demand conference for on-stage recognition. And also we donate $1,000 to the charity of their choice. So it's a great cause. We do some feature articles on them as well on Food on Demand. So those should be announced soon. So check out our website to learn more about these brands and gain insight on what's working on their end when it comes to the delivery and omni-channel world. All right, well, enough announcements from me. Let's get right into the guest interview with Jenn. All right, it is now time for our guest interview with Jenn Saunders-Haynes. She is a director of global catering for Subway. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it, and I'm excited to be here.
I love it. I love it. Jenn is very well known in the industry. I've followed her while speaking on many podcasts, and she was at the Food on Demand conference last year, and definitely the person you want to speak to about catering. So that is what we will talk about today. But before we dive into that, Jenn, I would love to learn more about you. Can you tell me a bit about your background and what led you into your current role?
Yeah, sure. So I'm at Subway now. I've been here for about just over 4 years. I started during COVID, and then before I was here, I was actually at Focus Brands, and so I was director of catering for overseeing over the Schlotzsky's brand. So I like to say I've been selling sandwiches for a long time. So from one sandwich brand to another. So getting into this space was an interesting journey for me. I didn't have a background in food service necessarily, although my first job was at a restaurant. But I originally was doing ops. I was catching criminals. So I was working for a private firm, working with loss prevention and HR teams. And so when I got into the restaurant business, it was mostly operations. It was understanding how catering worked. And then I think that's when I really fell in love with it. And then started making connections in my own personal life on how food is important and, how important it is to be of service, I think, in all aspects. So, that's the short story of my journey to Subway. So that's how I landed here.
And catering, I'm excited to get into it because, it's always about bringing people together, and it's always a different environment than a typical night out. So, and we'll get into that. But diving into your current role now, this is a loaded question, but what's kind of a typical day for you, or, what are one of your main focus points right now?
Oh my gosh. So no day is the same, right? Here's the interesting thing, right? When I talk to people that are not as close to the catering business, or they don't have a mature catering business in their own brand, immediately they think that, my job is to do catering sales, right? I am out selling catering all day, and that is what I do. That is a piece of what I do. I have a catering sales team. They're amazing. Shout out to Ashley and Stacy. But they do all the heavy lifting as far as sales are concerned. My job is really to oversee what happens with the catering program in general. So, the strategy, the operations, working closely on the marketing plan, writing marketing briefs, approving creative, working with the learning and development team. So it's all aspects of the catering space. It's not just, marketing, it's not just sales, it's all the things. And so, a typical day-to-day for me would be much similar to any other business function lead, right? I come in the morning, usually there are fires, I help put them out, and then I figure out what happened the day before, what we can do to make it better. Right now we're preparing for a multi-unit operator conference. So working on scripts, I'm traveling to our Toronto office to take them through some upcoming things for the year. So, catering is like any other business function. It's not just marketing, like I always say, and it's not just ops. It's all the things. And I'm honored to be a leader of my space in the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely the right person to speak to on this. So you talked a lot about, the marketing and all the different avenues that go into your job. Can you tell me a bit about how catering's evolved in recent years and what you've seen shift, whether that's operational, marketing, or consumer behavior?
Yeah. So that's also a loaded question, right? So you had like whatever was happening with catering and off-prem really in general was already happening, and then enter COVID, right? So COVID happened, and then everything that we knew kind of blew up, right? So we had to shift, and we had to understand what guests wanted. And I work very closely with our consumer insights team here in the office, and to understand what our guests want and what they need. For a short time, there was not well actually before COVID, there was this drive to get things very quickly. Executive assistants have meetings that they order the same day, and that is still happening post COVID. But according to some insights that we received recently, that's shifting, and people are relying more on, okay, I want food and I do need it quickly. But now you get dinged even more for quality. You get dinged even more for accuracy, right? And so, yes, I want it quickly, but I want it to be a quality experience. And notice experience, not just quality food, but a quality experience. And then, it's also, I want my food to be accurate. So, guests are placing orders a little bit further in advance because they want to give operators time to get the food right. I think the other thing, and just how we market and how we talk about catering, another thing that I say all the time is that, guests want food. They don't care if we call it catering, large group, whatever. I'm having an event, and I need food for these people because they're hungry. And the way that we talk about our programs also has shifted, I think, how we market to our guests, with more people remote, less B2B, more B2C, more large groups. And then the line gets blurry on what is catering, what is group, right? That's the age-old question in the space. Like, do we define it by a dollar amount or an item count? And I think we still live in that space, but focusing more on what the guest wants and how the guest wants to get the food, and not what we think they want, is super important now.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned people are ordering more in advance now and planning more
Mm-hmm.
ahead. Is that in relation at all to more use of marketplaces? There's the Easy Cater, and the ability to find catering more easier and kind of plan that out.
Probably, if we think about, and this is going to be a very strange analogy, so bear with me. If we think
Please.
about like dating culture, right? And like it's very easy. You can open an app, you can swipe, you can pick who you like and go on a date. If it doesn't work, you swipe again. And it's the same way, kind of,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
you get on an app, you pick what you want. You don't like it, you don't order from them again, but there are hundreds of other choices that you have, even in the same cuisine, right? So, it's the same thing. So you can't just you can't just be like a pizza joint. You have to be a pizza joint that caters, no pun intended, to all different kinds of people and types and sensitivities and all these things. So yeah, I think that as our culture continues to change and how we consume goods and products and services generally, catering will continue to change in the same way.
Yeah, I definitely see how that's ramped up, especially pre or after the pandemic. Just the availability and visibility of different
Yep.
brands, and that leads to competition. And so,
Yep.
can you kind of talk about how you can stand out in a crowded market? That's different for a large fast casual brand versus local, but from
Mhm.
Subway's perspective.
Yeah. And so I'll talk personally, right? Standing out in our space for me means being good at what we do, right? It is, sandwiches are gonna sandwich, right? Sandwiches are sandwiches, and you can get a sandwich from a lot of different places. But why would people want to order Subway sandwiches specifically? Right? Subway has name recognition that dates back to, for both of us, probably from when we were children. And there's something very nostalgic about eating a Subway sandwich and remembering the experience that you had when you first ate it. Now, bringing that same experience to a party, to an event is super important, right? There's also this idea of value and the quality that you get for the money that you pay that we have to lean into in a catering space. And so, driving home things like, our meals start at $7 per person. You can order and have it delivered the same day. All of these things are important to getting a message across that is more than just, hey, we have sandwiches,
Mhm.
right? And so adding who we are as a brand, as Subway, and then kind of coupling it with what we can do to make your ordering easier is how we, I think, stand out.
Yeah. And any advice for the more local side? That's not what you oversee particularly, but in general,
Mhm.
local marketing versus big brand.
Yeah, so that's it's an interesting question because for catering,
Mhm.
marketing locally is how you continue to drive those repeat guests, right? So as a brand from a national level, we do marketing, right? You've seen us on TV for above the line marketing. We do some below the line marketing, organic marketing, and all of these things from a national standpoint. It's great. It's great for catering specifically. That's great for getting attention of large enterprises. That's great for getting attention nationally. But there's still something to be said about what needs to happen locally, right? Because in the grand scheme of things, we're 100% franchised. And so the men and women that are in our restaurants operating them every day are really small business owners. And so although we operate as a national brand, these are local operators and they're local communities and they're part of what happens in their local chamber of commerce, their band club, their booster clubs. Like this is important too. And so finding the right balance of their local marketing and national marketing is important. So, to your question of how we can drive local marketing, it's the same for us as it is for anybody, right? You have to be present in the community. You have to, go back to those kind of grassroots kind of marketing tactics. Visit your neighboring businesses, take them cookies, take them flyers, show up, be present. That all those things are just as important for us as they are for a local pizza joint or whatever your brand is. So that doesn't change. That's still the same. So everything that I do from my seat from a national level, I also encourage our operators to do on a local level.
Yeah, I appreciate you diving into that. I think sometimes that can get lost, in the digital world and how much that's moving towards, the digital guests and omni-channel. It's
Mm-hmm.
still so important to connect locally and still do some of that in person or even
Yeah.
flyer tactics.
Yeah. And catering is a different beast, right?
Yeah.
Like there are always going to be guests that prefer to place their orders online or through an app.
Mhm.
And we are addressing those guests as well. But you can't lose the guest that's like, I need to order from my band or my swim
Yeah,
team or my sports team, and I'm a local athletic coach, and I just want the sandwich place down the street to, put their logo on some jerseys because we need money to go to a tournament.
yeah,
So that's a different kind of guest. And that guest may be a guest that orders from you every week for a sports game. So that's recurring business, and catering is mostly incremental. That's a guest that you want to capture just as much as you want to capture a digital guest, right? So,
right.
you gotta take care of both.
Absolutely. Moving on to kind of the tech side of things and the operational side, working with so many different franchisees and different areas of catering, individual locations. How does tech kind of play a role in Subway's catering strategy?
So, um, you know, I love our tech teams. They work very hard for us. They have very big brains, and I appreciate what they do. And while it is important, it is an important part of the strategy. Technology is not a strategy, right?
Right.
Technology is a piece. We have to make sure that things are integrating properly, menus are built properly, things are flowing the way they need to flow. At the end of the day, if all of those things work and the photography is not right, the offerings are not right, technology can only take you so far, right? So I think as we think about future state and where we're going, our technology needs to be seamless, just like everybody, right? It needs to be, because again, going back to my dating example, people have options, right? And they don't want to mess around on a platform that just doesn't make sense for them.
Right.
And so, we want to make sure that we are competing in the space of technology for sure, but we also have a responsibility to make sure we're developing the right menu and we have the right, like I said, photography to help us get over that last hurdle. So it's a piece of the business. It's not the whole strategy. Everything has to come together to make it work.
Right, right. And pictures are important when it comes to catering.
Yeah, yeah.
People know what they're getting, what they're ordering. I always encourage operators, small or big, to have a good online ordering system with pictures if possible.
Mhm.
Because, like you said, it's like a dating app almost.
That's it. But people eat with their eyes. Like we see things, and how many times have you watched a commercial or whatever else, and you're like, oh my God, that cheese pull, right? Like it,
Yeah,
you just that's where you start thinking about what you want to order and how things look. And as a farmer rep or an EA that's ordering lunch or for either a partner, a guest, a visitor, you want to make sure they have a good experience. And so if you see
yeah,
a picture of something and it looks delicious, you're like, yes, because what happens, right? If you're a farmer rep, you send somebody lunch, you're like, okay, we're building a relationship, right? If
right.
you are an EA and you're ordering lunch for your boss, they're like, oh my gosh, great job, right? So it makes you look good, it makes you feel good, and then
Yeah,
you're providing something, nourishment for whomever you're providing it for. So, pictures are important, and that's what we do. Part of my job is also to make sure photo shoots go well. So
love it.
so we working with food stylists and all of those people to make sure we have beautiful pictures of our product is important.
I'm a little interested in that. Can you kind of tell me a bit about what a photo shoot's like on the food side? That's something
Yeah, it's stressful. It's stressful. So I'll give you kind of a rundown of what happens from my point of view, right? So I've been on photo shoots in my past life in person and also virtually. And so what happens on a photo shoot is, you have to create this shot list so they capture everything, what's included where, specifics of all the sandwiches, all the builds. And then you have to give them a lookbook, right? You have to give them, okay, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I want you to bring to life. And then on set, they pull it all together, right? So usually if I'm virtual, I'm going about my day. I give them all the shot lists, all the specs. They put something together, and then I get a ping, right? I get a Teams message or whatever, and they're like, "Okay, pop on so you can approve the shot." So I get on, I look at the shot, make edits, I pop off, and then they ping me again, and then I'm back, right? So that's like most of the day. And so then we finally get to a place where everybody agrees, and we've moved this there and moved that there, and then the shot is approved. They take the shot, they send me a picture of it, I approve it, and then we move to the next one. And this goes on for 2 days, 3 days sometimes,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's exciting, but like I said, also stressful because in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, pressure's on, got to get this shot, has to be right, right? And then, you have to respect the food stylists and
Right.
their opinions, and they're artists, right? And then I have to do what's best for the business, this intricate dance that we do of balance. And, I think we work well together with the marketing team, and the last photo shoot we did came out beautifully. So, but yeah,
I love
it's
it.
stressful but exciting.
No, that's really interesting. There's so many different aspects that go into play that I don't think everyone thinks about that,
Yeah,
as part of
yeah,
your roles also, oversee.
yeah. That's why I said, like, as much as I love selling sandwiches, it's not all that we do, right? And
Right.
there are many pieces to this puzzle. And so, I think I would say, if for the brands that are listening, if you are, like, gosh, I really want to hone in on my catering program and figure
Mhm.
out what it takes and figure out, even somebody to lead it. It's not just sales. Like, you
Right.
got to be kind of a generalist and be able to maneuver and get into all these different things. So, yeah, so that's a day in the life of.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing your, a day
Mhm.
in the life of Jen.
Yep.
Um, just one of the small things of it. And so we talked a lot about, marketing, operations. Is there anything I haven't touched on that in general is just some good advice about the catering landscape today?
Um, Gosh, I think I'm gonna say less is more, and I'll explain what I mean by that. It's really hard it's really easy to feel like you have to be all the things for all the people, or feel like you have to put your entire menu on a catering or group menu.
Mhm.
And it's also very easy to feel like you're not doing enough and be easily distracted. I think from an ops standpoint, figure out what you do well and do it, right? It's easier to be really, really good at a few things and not be just like mediocre at a bunch. I just, if you are a sandwich shop, be really, really good at making sandwiches, right?
Mhm.
If you are, if you have a fusion concept, be really, really good at making whatever your staple is. And then figure out what packaging works, figure out how to showcase your food in the right way, and then figure out your audience, right? If you are a brand that, does really well with schools, or hospitals, right? Play that up. Figure out how to market to that audience. Don't lose the rest of the people because anybody could come along, but understand who your guest is and understand who wants to order from you, and figure out how to segment and target market them in the right way. Because that's your base, right? You don't want to do all these other things on the side and lose your base, right? So I would say that from an operations perspective, from a learning and development perspective, it makes it so much easier when you figure out what you do well and just crush it.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here first. That's some firsthand amazing advice. So thank you so much. Let's see here. One of my last questions before I dive into a few fun ones at the end.
Yeah.
Where in general do you see the future of catering in the industry heading, or what are you looking forward to maybe in the next few years?
Depending on the climate of our, kind of work from home, back to work kind of
Right.
situation, I definitely see B2C becoming more
Mhm.
popular.
Mhm.
Super Bowl is coming up. That's
Yep.
a huge B2C holiday. I think as we continue to shift and then people continue to become more comfortable being around each other, more comfortable having huge parties, I think that'll continue to grow. I don't know what will happen to the B2B space, right? I think it's still
Yeah.
important. I think it's still growing, but I think it'll change a little bit. And that's kind of evident from, the lead time stats and, just the general growth of the industry. I also think that as non-restaurant caterers kind of
Mhm.
step up, that'll be another layer of the catering group space or opportunity that we'll have to watch. Um, you know, convenience stores are catering now. Grocery
Right.
stores are ramping up their catering. So, as Amazon continues to grow, who knows what will happen? You know what I mean? Like it's
Mhm.
all of that will continue to surface, I think, in the next few years. So it'll be interesting to me to see how all that comes together and how the marketplaces continue to change
Yeah.
because there will be other players in the catering marketplace space. Who that will be, I don't know, but there will definitely be others. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That was a great prediction or wrap up. I have been keeping an eye on that as well. We just wrote a
Mhm.
story about these stores and the competition with grocery stores with just
Yeah,
delivery in
yeah,
general. So obviously that plays into catering.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you for all the amazing advice and insights on catering and what you do at Subway. We're coming up on our time, but before I let you go, at the end, I like to do a part called Did You Leave Room for Dessert, where I ask a few fun questions to get to know you better. So if that's all
Sure.
right with you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, Jen, well, what do you like to do outside of work? Any hobbies or things you like to do for fun?
So I'm a big brunch girl. I love a
Me
good
too.
brunch. We served brunch at my wedding, so I love a brunch.
That's
So that's
amazing.
one thing. I am also like a psychological thriller horror movie junkie.
Mm-hmm.
Usually while I'm working, I'm listening to like a true crime podcast. So that's
Yes.
like a huge thing for me. And let's see. I love family. I love to travel. I think if I had to call out one other hobby, traveling is really high on the list. So, being in different cultures, eating different food, just meeting different people from all over the place, it helps me be a better person, right? When I meet people from other walks of life. So, those are my things.
Where is one of your favorite places to travel to when you have time off?
Oh gosh. Okay. So, I really like London.
Ooh, I never been.
Um, I really like it. The food is good. People are friendly. It's just, I don't know, it's like a vibe. It's a cool place. I think the prettiest beach I've been to is probably Turks and Caicos has some, I mean, the turquoise water, the whitest
Oh,
sand. Yeah, so if you just want to like go somewhere and like chill out and like do nothing, I think that would be the place. So I have some exciting trips coming up this year too, so I might be adding to the list, but I think for now those are at the top.
well, I hope you get to escape to the warm soon. If anyone's listening, it's
Yes.
snowing in Florida today where
It's
Jen's
not
at.
it's not snowing. It's not snowing.
Snowing.
It feels like
Sorry.
snow to me. It's just
Yes,
very cold. So it
yes.
is 60 degrees in Miami, which is like
Not snowing in Miami. I think some part in Florida got.
North Florida
There we
got
go.
snow. Yeah,
Yes.
North Florida
Yeah.
got snow, but my mother lives in North Carolina, and this morning I told her it was freezing in Miami, and she laughed at me because it is snowing in North Carolina. So,
Yes.
yeah, she laughed me off the phone, but it is very cold here to me.
Yes. Well, I'm sure to anyone in Florida listening as well. So.
Yes.
Okay, Jen. Well, those are my few fun questions. If there's anything else you'd like to add, but other than that, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and I hope to connect with you again soon.
Yeah, no, this was great. I think my last word would probably be if you're in the space and you're looking to grow, just hang in there, man. I know things are rough.
Yeah.
Traffic is rough, but it's coming back. So hang in there and you'll be just fine.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jen. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.